If you had told me 5 years back that one solitary glass of champagne would ring the death knell for my marriage, I would have chuckled and said, "Come on, Kate's just being her usual dramatic self," but deep down, she loves me. Well, it seems I was only partially off the mark. She's definitely got a flair for the dramatic. Now, for the second part, gather round because I've got a tale to spin. So, here we were, approaching our 5th anniversary, 5 years of wedded bliss and 8 years of navigating this delightful adventure together. I was aiming for something truly remarkable, a memory that would stick like gum on a hot sidewalk. Well, it didn't quite turn out as planned, but boy, was it memorable. After weeks of meticulous planning, I secured the back garden of her beloved little wine bar, complete with twinkling lights, a string quartet serenading the evening, a handcrafted menu, and a gathering of friends, family, and co-workers. It was a scene straight out of a romantic novel, minus the dramatic plot twists, of course. I managed to sweet-talk her folks into hopping a flight from Denver. They were utterly flabbergasted that I pulled off the surprise without a hitch. So, what's the present? I had been stashing away my pennies for what felt like an eternity. Nestled within a plush velvet box lies a charming gold necklace, complete with a dainty heart locket that seems to whisper secrets of love and adventure. Inside the locket, there were 2 tiny pictures, one capturing the joy of our wedding day and the other, a little sneak peek from the ultrasound that never got its moment in the spotlight. Well, 2 years back, she went through a miscarriage. We didn't really chat about it afterward, but I couldn't help but think, perhaps, just perhaps, this could be something significant, a little nod to say, I still have faith in us. Oh, and I had 2 plane tickets hidden away like a secret treasure, a 10-day escape to the Amalfi Coast just waiting to be discovered. Just the 2 of us, no emails, no phones, just the salty breeze and a whole lot of time to spare. I expected a waterfall of tears, but what I got was a giggle fit instead. But hold on, I'm jumping the gun here. The evening kicked off just like one of those fairy tale cocktail parties you read about in novels, complete with a sprinkle of magic and a dash of chaos. Kate was absolutely radiant in her red satin dress, sporting that movie star smile of hers. Her arm was looped through mine, as if we were still in perfect harmony, like a couple of characters in a romantic comedy. Yet, there was a little something amiss. Shut it down. She was putting on a performance for the audience, and let me tell you, it was all in good fun. She had a knack for charming folks, but this time she was really laying it on. Flirting with the bartender like he was the last slice of pizza, whispering jokes into my best friend's ear as if they were state secrets, and giving her ex-coworker a hug that could have qualified for an Olympic event. It was a spectacle, to say the least. And then, out of nowhere, there was Jake. As I caught a glimpse of her scrolling through her phone, his name popped up like an unexpected guest at a party, one you didn't invite but can't help but notice. Jake made a brief cameo on the screen, like a surprise guest at a party who leaves before you can say hello. I kept my lips sealed, not a peep escaped. Silence was my best friend in that moment. I promised myself I wouldn't let paranoia crash the party tonight. Jake was her college ex, the one who shattered her heart like a cheap vase when he snagged that finance gig in London and vanished into thin air. It had been ages since she last laid eyes on him, or at least that's what I thought back then. The drinks were pouring like a waterfall, and the laughter echoed like a chorus of cheerful hyenas. My mom raised her glass and shared a charming little story about my culinary skills, or lack thereof, before Kate swooped in to save the day and teach me how to cook without turning eggs into charcoal. Her dad launched into one of those eye-roll-inducing dad jokes about grandkids arriving soon, and you could practically hear the collective groan in the room. And just like that, the room erupted in applause. Then Kate rose to her feet, a champagne flute in hand, her cheeks sporting a delightful blush. Every single word she uttered is etched in my memory, like a catchy tune you can't shake off, no matter how hard you try. Half a decade. Wow, that's longer than all my relationships put together. Who knew I was so committed to time? The audience let out a hearty laugh. Honestly, when I first met Tom, I figured he was just nice, sweet, safe, you know. Like a cozy blanket on a chilly day. Even more giggles. I flashed a grin that could only be described as polite, like a well-behaved dog waiting for a treat. Perhaps it was the wine talking. If Jake hadn't taken that job in London, well, who can say what might have happened? Maybe he'd be living in a cozy cottage, sipping tea and writing poetry, or perhaps he'd be stuck in a never-ending game of Monopoly with his cat. The possibilities are endless, really. Perhaps I'd be toasting to his greatness at this very moment. Well, she caught my eye and burst into laughter. Well, it seems Tom managed to turn out all right as well. Hey, second place isn't too shabby, is it? Just think of it as being the first loser, at least you got a medal for your efforts. Not a peep. And then, a hearty chuckle erupted. Feeling a bit jittery. Well, that was a bit of a clumsy moment, wasn't it? My mom cast her gaze downward, as if the floor had suddenly become the most fascinating thing in the room. My sister grimaced as if she'd just bitten into a lemon. One of her friends nearly launched their drink across the room in a valiant effort to keep it down. I kept my mouth shut, not a peep escaped my lips. I rose with all the grace of a sloth on a Sunday, ambled over to her, gently relieved her of the glass she was holding, and said, "Thanks a bunch, Kate." Well, that certainly untangles the web of confusion. I kept my voice at a perfectly reasonable volume. "Thank you very much." I managed to keep my cool, no dramatic flair here. I made my grand exit from the party. And just like that, it happened. As the door clicked shut behind me, the chilly night air wrapped around me like a cozy blanket, far more satisfying than any round of applause could ever be. I didn't wander too far from the nest. Right there, just waiting to surprise you. I plopped down on a bench beneath a flickering street lamp, letting the chilly air nip at me like an overly enthusiastic puppy. The faint echoes of laughter from the party lingered in the air like a stubborn guest who just wouldn't leave. It was as if I was a spectator in my own story, observing my life go up in flames, all while trapped inside a snow globe. Talk about a frosty situation. I was as calm as a cucumber in a salad bar, really. Not quite there yet. I was completely taken aback. Getting slapped in the face by the one you adore. Now that's a plot twist no one saw coming. Let's keep that between us, shall we? No need to air our laundry in front of the audience. Not with a bubbly glass in her hand and a cheeky grin on her face. And certainly not with that name rolling off her tongue. Well, here we have Jake. Oh, just hearing it roll off her tongue again felt like a slap in the face, didn't it? That self-satisfied smirk when she casually mentioned that I might just be toasting to him. Ah, the sweet taste of second place, like being the runner-up in a pie-eating contest. You didn't win, but hey, at least you got a slice of the action. That's the role I played in her story. Just a solo act. Definitely not a husband. Definitely not the guy who stood by her side, holding her hair back during that unforgettable food poisoning episode in Mexico. Definitely not the fellow who ducked out of the office every Tuesday for 2 whole years, just to ensure she walked into a home filled with fresh flowers waiting on the table. Ah, the sweet taste of second place, like being the runner-up in a pie-eating contest. You didn't win, but hey, at least you got a slice of the action. It took her a solid 10 minutes to make her grand entrance. The sound of her heels clicking echoed through the air, announcing her arrival long before she came into view. Tom, the man, the myth, the legend, well, at least in his own mind. Her voice danced with laughter, as if the whole thing was just one big punchline waiting to be delivered. "Oh, sweetheart, really now? Hey, where did you wander off to?" I just sat there, letting silence do the talking for me. She strolled over at a leisurely pace, arms crossed to fend off the chill, wearing a look that screamed, "What on earth is going on?" Well, that's just delightful, isn't it? All right, what in the world was that all about? She inquired. You really just strolled out on our anniversary, didn't you? It seems like everyone's on a treasure hunt trying to figure out your whereabouts. I glanced over at her. Oh, come on. Are we really doing this? You must be missing the memo, my friend. She blinked, as if the world had just thrown a surprise party and she was the last to arrive. Oh, come on. It was just a little jest. Well, you know me, I have my own way of expressing things. Folks erupted in laughter. Absolutely, I did say that. They burst into laughter. Congratulations. You turned my anniversary into a comedy show, and guess who was the star of the punchline? Yep, me. Oh, for crying out loud. Oh, come on, you're really laying it on thick, aren't you? I cracked a grin. The sort of grin that appears when that pesky inner voice finally decides to take a nap and leave you in peace. I poured my heart and soul into this, Kate. All I wanted was for you to act like I actually mattered, you know? Just a little bit of that good old-fashioned respect would have been nice. Only tonight. Just one night where we can focus on our little world. Her expression did a little dance. The laughter faded away. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we present the grand spectacle known as the defense. Oh, that's not how I intended it to come across. Oh, it was merely some light-hearted ribbing. Honestly, it's no secret that I've got a soft spot for you. I got up from my seat, like a reluctant hero in a novel, ready to face whatever awaited me next. Serenity reigned supreme. Chilly as a polar bear's toenails. If that's your idea of affection, I can only imagine the creative ways you might express disdain. She took a small step back, as if the universe had suddenly decided to throw a surprise party she wasn't quite ready for. "You're really making a mountain out of a molehill here." "Absolutely not," I declared. "You've already taken care of that, haven't you?" In just one sentence, the world can spin on its axis and 1,000 stories can unfold, all while you sip your coffee and wonder if you left the oven on. She let out a laugh that was part disbelief, part amusement. "Oh, for Pete's sake, Tom. You seem to be feeling a bit unsure of yourself." "Oh, that was just a little jab at Jake, not you. No need to take it personally." "Absolutely right." I lost my cool. "So here we are, celebrating our anniversary, and guess who's the star of the show?" "That's right, it's Jake, let's raise a glass to him." The silence between us grew heavier, like a thick fog rolling in on a quiet morning. Her breath puffed out like little clouds in the chilly air. My hands were shaking, but it wasn't the chill in the air that was to blame this time. "I'm heading back home," I declared. "All by my lonesome." She seized my arm like it was the last slice of pizza at a party. "Hold on a second, where do you think you're off to?" "To recall the sensation of dignity." I gently eased myself back. I strolled over to my trusty steed on 4 wheels. Set off on a drive to, well, absolutely nowhere in particular. Just me, the open road, and a playlist that could make even a traffic jam feel like a party. All parked and ready to go. I sat there for 2 hours, engine off, keys resting in my lap, just looping that pesky sentence in my mind like a broken record. "Well, it seems Tom managed to turn out just fine, didn't he?" "Well, second place isn't too shabby, right? It's like being the silver medalist in the Olympics of life, still a reason to celebrate, just with a slightly less shiny trophy." The following morning, I decided that home could wait a little longer. I popped over to a friend's place. Shot a quick text to Kate. "Please, no calls. Time is what I'm after." I really did mean it, you know. She went ahead and called, just like that. On the very first day, I managed to do it 8 times. Talk about a productive start. 14, take 2. Left voicemails that kicked off on a cheerful note. Then it went into a full-blown panic mode. There was one message that made her tear up, but I just left it hanging like a forgotten sock on laundry day. It was as if the universe had decided to rearrange the furniture without telling anyone. "It's the end of the line, folks." I had given up on finding a solution to our little conundrum. I was scratching my head, wondering how on earth I managed to be so oblivious for this long. Just 3 little days. Well, that's the duration of my grand escape. 3 nights spent on a friend's couch, armed with just a hoodie, my phone, and a mind full of musings. I managed to keep my eyes dry. Not that I'm some kind of cold-hearted tough cookie. Nope, I simply lacked the emotional bandwidth for that one. The anger was present, buzzing away like a fridge that just won't quit in the background. Yet, overshadowing everything else was the sheer incredulity. There she was, glass in hand, raising a toast to Jake, and that image looped in my mind like a stubborn song stuck on repeat, one I couldn't quite silence no matter how hard I tried. But anger doesn't keep its fiery temper for long. Eventually, it cools down into something that actually does the trick. Crystal clear. On the 4th day, I hopped in my car and made my way back home, like a weary traveler returning from an epic quest, minus the dragons and treasure, of course. Silence is golden, or so they say. Just a friendly chat, no need for a debate. Just for the heck of it. To experience that vastness once more. To discover what my instincts whispered once the haze lifted. As I walked in, the silence wrapped around me like a cozy blanket, almost too quiet for my liking. It's so quiet, you could hear a pin drop, and then roll away for a leisurely stroll. The hallway was as dark as a cave, but that lingering whiff of her perfume, vanilla and amber, was still hanging around like an uninvited guest at a party. That scent had a way of wrapping around me like a cozy blanket, making me feel right at home. Well, that just made my jaw clench like a stubborn mule refusing to budge. "Kate!" I called out, my voice echoing like a lost puppy in the park. Silence reigned supreme. She had apparently decided that home was overrated today. I strolled through the house at a leisurely pace, taking in the sights like a detective on a case, but with less urgency and more curiosity about the dust bunnies lurking in the corners. Time to kick off those shoes. Each step seemed to announce my presence like a marching band at a library. I strolled right over to her little corner of chaos. The petite white desk nestled in the corner of the living room, where she'd casually sip her wine while tackling emails, all with her feet comfortably propped up. And there it was, just sitting there like it owned the place. That trusty MacBook of hers. All right, let me be clear, I'm not exactly waving a flag of pride over my next move. When a woman lifts her glass to toast her eggs and casually labels you as the runner-up, it's not just your moral compass that starts to spin like a top. It whirls around like a wild tornado on a mission. I gave the trackpad a gentle tap, as if it were a shy friend who needed a little encouragement to speak up. The screen sprang to life in a flash. Initially, it felt like watching paint dry. Ah, the delightful world of work group chats. Her mother. A couple of friends are huddled together, swapping stories about their latest fashion choices and chuckling over a certain someone's less than stellar Botox adventure. And there it was, the name, just sitting there like it owned the place. Jake, my friend. With a little flame emoji and a heart, just to spice things up. I gave it a little tap. And that's when the last puzzle piece finally decided to stop playing hide and seek. The messages were a bit vague, like trying to read a novel with half the pages missing. Kate had a brain that could outsmart a calculator on a caffeine high. But they had a certain flair. It's that unmistakable vibe you pick up on when your heart's doing the tango, but the other person's just sitting there, blissfully unaware of the dance party happening in your chest. Jake, I really miss our epic chats. London's fantastic, but I tell you, there are nights when I find myself longing for that cozy little bar tucked away on 9th Street. Do you recall? Kate, huh? Absolutely, without a doubt. Ah, that bar. Ah, that little booth in the corner. Remember those days when we'd act like we were just two random folks bumping into each other for the very first time? Hey Jake, who knows, maybe one day we'll actually pull off a proper reunion. Wouldn't that be something? Whenever you're ready, just give me a shout. Kate, huh? Oh, please, don't dangle that carrot in front of me. If Tom continues to be a snooze fest, I might just hop on the next flight out of here. That last one? Oh, she sent it 3 weeks ago. Time flies, doesn't it? I just kept on scrolling, like a determined squirrel hunting for acorns in a digital forest. Ah, the classic screenshot, the digital equivalent of capturing a moment in time, but without the awkwardness of a selfie stick. Just a simple click, and voila, you've immortalized that me more important message for all eternity. Or at least until your phone runs out of storage. Ancient snapshots of my younger self. She sent him a picture from our Napa vacation, complete with the caption that read, "Wish you were here." Classic move, right? You'd probably enjoy the wine a lot more than my husband ever could. I plopped down in the chair, eyes glued to the glowing screen like it was the last slice of pizza at a party. The most unfortunate bit? Surprisingly, it was more like a gentle nudge than a full-on punch to the gut. It felt like flipping to the last page of a novel I'd already read, knowing exactly how it all wrapped up. I simply didn't want to own up to it. She had vanished, like a sock in the dryer, one moment there, the next, poof. Gone. Well, perhaps not in the physical sense. Well, it's not like there's a certificate or anything. But the woman I married, the one who whirled barefoot with me in the rain 5 years back, had already taken off on a mental flight to London ages ago. There I was, just playing the part of a doorman, waiting for her to stroll back in like she owned the place. I shut the laptop with the kind of care one might use when handling a fragile piece of art. After all, it had just spilled its digital guts all over my screen. I decided to keep those messages to myself, like a secret recipe that only I know. No forwarding here. Not just yet. No snapshots were captured. I simply stood there, like a statue that forgot how to move, contemplating the mysteries of life, or maybe just what to have for dinner. My eyes feel like they've just run a marathon without a drop of water in sight. Heart calm and collected. Brain on point. This was just the beginning of a rather unexpected adventure. It was the dawn of a whole new adventure. And the next time we found ourselves in front of an audience, it would be my post that lingered in their memories like a good dessert after a hearty meal. Apparently, revenge is like a fine wine, it's best enjoyed when it's had time to chill. Surprisingly, I was as warm as toast on a sunny morning. I felt like a well-oiled machine, hitting every note just right. As I stepped out of the house that day, I made sure to close the door gently, like a well-mannered guest at a party who knows better than to make a scene. I grabbed nothing but my trusty overnight bag and that flash drive from my desk drawer, the one I typically relied on for saving my brilliant project ideas, or at least the ones that didn't end up in the recycling bin. Isn't it amusing how quickly a tool meant for work can turn into a personal arsenal? That evening, I found myself tucked away in a cozy little short-term rental, the kind that feels like a warm hug after a long day. A vast expanse of nothingness. Nothing to reminisce about. The air was as scentless as a politician's promise. No pictures sneering at me from the shelves of literature. Only the hush of quiet and the weight of purpose. My first order of business? Backups, of course. Because who doesn't love a good safety net, right? The notes popping up on her laptop? The following day, I made my way back while she was busy at her job. Transcribed every single word. Each and every snapshot. Each emoji she fired off to Jake felt like a lovesick schoolgirl caught in the middle of a sitcom plot twist. I wasn't quite ready to break them out just yet. I simply had to get my hands on them. And just like that, the bank account made its grand entrance. So, how about we pool our pennies together in a joint savings account? Sounds like a plan, right? I shifted half of my funds into a private account, like a magician pulling a rabbit out of a hat, only this time, the rabbit is my money, and the hat is a bank. Ta-da. Just a little legal tidbit for you. Neat as a pin and as peaceful as a cat napping in the sun. Up next, a divorce lawyer. Definitely not a product of Google. I did a little sleuthing and stumbled upon a woman named Marcy Caldwell, who managed high-profile, messy breakups as if she were wearing gloves, very fancy, very careful gloves. When I shared the brief version of the tale, she leaned back and remarked, "You don't seem like the yelling type." Well, that certainly lightens my load. It's the quiet ones you've got to watch out for, they can wreak havoc without making a peep. As Kate bombarded me with messages like, "Can we talk? It seems we've both let a few words slip that we might want to take back, huh?" I swear, I wasn't trying to stir the pot or anything. My nerves were doing a little dance, and let me tell you, it wasn't exactly a graceful waltz. Well, there it is, my brain decided to take a little vacation and left my mouth in charge. Classic move, right? I kept my mouth shut and got to work on my masterpiece. I got in touch with a fellow I remembered from my college days. Ethan, the freelance videographer with the knack for capturing life's quirks, casually mentioned that I was in need of a little favor. Put together a straightforward, tidy video montage. Silence reigns supreme. No fuss. Only Kate's messages, a few screenshots, and right in the middle, that recording from our anniversary. Absolutely. Well, it turns out someone decided to capture the moment on film. I managed to snag the footage from one of our guests. Kate had even struck a pose for the camera after the toast, grinning as if she'd just triumphed in a roast battle. Absolutely spot on. The plan unfolded gradually, much like the slow drizzle of cold liquor cascading over ice cubes. Calculated. As smooth as a well-oiled machine on a Sunday morning, gliding through life without a hitch. Life-threatening. In just a fortnight, Kate's best buddy, Heather, would be hitting the big 3-3. A grand shindig? Casually polished. So there we were, a motley crew of friends, colleagues, and family, all converging at that same rooftop bar where I had blown out the candles on my last birthday cake. Ah, nostalgia and cocktails, a perfect mix. You'll never believe who got the golden ticket to the party. Yours truly. Guess who gave a non-committal nod and decided to play the silent game? Count me in, too. Well, let me tell you, I had a little something up my sleeve. Here's to the grand finale. And this time, not a single chuckle would escape the crowd. I strolled in fashionably late, just to keep things interesting. The party was already humming with energy when I strolled in. A bar on the roof. The skyline is putting on quite the show, glowing like it just won a beauty pageant. Folks in fancy dresses and sharp jackets, casually enjoying cocktails that cost more than a small car, with whimsical names like Flirtini and Winter Affair. I slipped into a straightforward navy suit, the kind that says, "I mean business," while secretly hoping it also says, "But I can still enjoy a good slice of pizza afterward." Forget the tie. A fresh, crisp white shirt. Freshly shorn. I appeared to be a guy who had a more exciting destination in mind. Well, perhaps I was indeed. Heather, the one and only best friend of Kate, was hitting the big 3-3. And all the folks who really counted in Kate's life were present. Colleagues. Ah, family. The delightful mix of love, chaos, and the occasional eye roll. It's like a sitcom where everyone has a role, and the plot twists are just part of the fun. Who needs reality TV when you have relatives? Companions. Those ancient comrades from the hallowed halls of academia. Most of them were present that fateful night when she raised her glass and delivered that toast. Well, that seems just about right. Prepare for the grand reveal of the next chapter. Text greater than I noticed her right away. Kate, huh? A dress that shines like a disco ball at a party where everyone forgot their dance moves. Locks cascading in carefree curls. Crimson pouts. Gathering around like moths to a flame, the guys were putting on their best poker faces, desperately pretending they weren't stealing glances at her. Her laughter erupted like a joyful explosion, filling the room with a contagious cheer. She tossed her head back with that flair she knew would turn heads. She was blissfully unaware of my presence. Well, it didn't take long for folks to catch on. All eyes were suddenly on the scene. One of her co-workers shot me a nod that was so subtle, it felt almost like a tip of the hat, like, wow, I must have done something right. He showed up. A little whisper floated her way, like a secret trying to sneak past the bouncer at a club. And then, like a spotlight in a dimly lit room, her eyes landed on me. The smile has vanished into thin air. Her shoulders felt like they were auditioning for a role in a statue competition. She held her drink tight, as if it were a trusty shield against the chaos of the world. I didn't exactly stroll over to her. Not quite there yet. I strolled over to Heather, like a character in a novel who's just spotted their long-lost friend in a crowded cafe. Wrapped my arms around her in a warm embrace. I wished her a happy birthday, complete with all the enthusiasm of a kid in a candy store. So, I leaned in and said, "Do you mind if I share a couple of thoughts? Hold your horses for a sec. I assure you, it's definitely worth your while." She gave her eyelids a little workout. Well, that was unexpected. But gave a nod. "All right then, I'll just dial down the tunes a notch or two." I passed the DJ a flash drive, like handing over a secret treasure map, hoping he'd unlock the party's potential with just a click. No tunes. Only a video, folks. Maximize that view. Turn it up to 11. He gave a casual shrug, as if the weight of the world was just a feather on his shoulder. Just your average party slideshow, I suppose. Well, that was his assumption, anyway. The screen flickered to life. Heads turned like flowers following the sun. I took a step closer and cranked up my volume just enough to make sure I wasn't just talking to myself. Well, speaking wasn't exactly on my agenda for tonight. So, since a bunch of you were at our anniversary bash, I thought, why not share a little follow-up with this fabulous crowd? Kate came to a sudden halt, as if someone had pressed the pause button on her life. And just like that, the video kicked off. To kick things off, let's roll a clip. Kate stood there, champagne flute in hand, laughter bubbling up like the fizz in her drink. If Jake hadn't taken that job in London, who can say what might have happened? The universe is a funny place, after all. Perhaps I'd be toasting to him at this very moment. Well, would you look at that? Tom managed to turn out just fine as well. Well, second place isn't too shabby, is it? It's like being the runner-up in a pie-eating contest, still a win in my book. It was as if someone had hit the pause button on life itself, and the air in the room decided to take a little vacation. And just like that, the screenshots arrived. Messages sent through the magical realm of tiny screens. She was throwing her best flirtatious glances at Jake. There are moments when I find myself daydreaming about how different life might have been if I had hopped on a plane to London instead of tying the knot with Tom. Tom's a real sweetheart, but honestly, he's about as exciting as a cozy blanket on a rainy day. Cozy, secure, and utterly devoid of excitement. Selfies she shot over to Jake from our anniversary night. Someone please tell me I don't look like I've just stumbled out of a wild party when I'm with a guy like Tom. Not a single chuckle was heard. A handful of curious souls cast their eyes in her direction. Some averted their gaze. Her father took a leisurely sip of his drink, his gaze fixed on the floor as if it held the secrets of the universe, or at least the remote control he misplaced last week. Kate's expression hardened, yet her eyes were as round as saucers, like a startled deer caught in the headlights of a runaway truck. I strolled up to the front, as if I were the star of my own little show, ready to take center stage. Serenity reigned supreme. Pretty much like a calm lake on a lazy Sunday afternoon. Hoisted a glass of water like it was the finest vintage, ready to toast to hydration. Thanks a bunch, Kate. Oh, absolutely. Thanks for giving my eyes a little nudge. Who knew they were so stubborn? 5 years back, I tied the knot with someone I was convinced was my partner in crime. Well, it seems I was merely a stand-in all along. So tonight, I'm lifting my glass to the fine art of seeing things clearly. The most genuine present you've ever handed over to me. I dove into my jacket like a treasure hunter on a quest, hoping to unearth something more exciting than a crumpled receipt or a rogue piece of gum. I fished out a crisp white envelope, the kind that always seems to hold secrets or at least a grocery list from last week. Strolled it right over to her. Ah, the delightful paperwork of divorce. Take your time. Just give me a shout when you're finished with the charade. And off I strolled, leaving the scene behind me like a character in a novel who just realized they forgot their lines. Beyond the bewildered crowd. Beyond her statue-like stance. Beyond the life I imagined we shared. Honestly, I could hardly believe my eyes. The city was putting on a show like never before. She took her sweet time with the papers, as if they were a fine wine needing to breathe. Well, naturally, she didn't. She picked up the phone and called. She sent a text. She even shot me an email with the subject line, "Let's chat like grown-ups." It was almost comical, like a teenager's frantic note after being caught red-handed sneaking out for a midnight adventure. Her first message had a bit of a chip on its shoulder. "You really put me on the spot in front of the whole crowd, didn't you? What on earth possessed you to do that?" And just like that, guilt waltzed in uninvited. "You really painted a picture that was a bit more dramatic than the reality, didn't you? I was having a little heart-to-heart with Jake. You know me all too well." And just like that, the panic arrived, uninvited and ready to throw a party. "I really didn't want to let you slip away from me. Well, that was a bit of a blunder. Time to roll up our sleeves and get to work on this." Yet, not a single "I'm sorry" ever slipped from her lips. People like Kate? Oh, they don't do apologies. It's like a sport to them. Why say sorry when you can just keep on being fabulous? They decided to give themselves a makeover. A week post-party, she slid into my messages once more. Only a single line. "Jake seems to have mastered the art of radio silence." I chose to keep my thoughts to myself this time. Oh, but I was already in the know. Jake wasn't exactly a dim bulb. He had a knack for flirting with a married woman, no doubt about it. It gave him that warm, fuzzy feeling of being in demand. Impressive. But a divorced Kate, huh? Down on their luck and unexpectedly free? Well, it seems the excitement has taken a little vacation, hasn't it? Well, it seems his last note to her was just a charming way of saying, "Thanks, but no thanks. Looks like you've got quite the circus happening over there." Perhaps a little distance would do us both some good. Translating words from one language to another is like trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. Sometimes it works, and other times you just end up with a mess. It's a bit like cooking without a recipe. You might end up with a gourmet meal or a kitchen disaster. Either way, it's all about the journey, right? You were a blast when you were playing the role of someone else's wife. Well, that's not really a concern anymore, is it? Now that you've got your freedom, it's a whole new ballgame. Kate decided to pull a no-show at Heather's next shindig? She wasn't one to flood social media with posts, either. The classic collection of enigmatic musings on recovery, life lessons, and bidding farewell to those who clearly didn't earn a spot in your heart. A real page-turner, isn't it? Some of our mutual pals decided to drop me a line. A few folks offered their apologies. Some folks confessed they always had a hunch she was a bit self-centered, but they were too polite to spill the beans. One of her cousins, a distant acquaintance at best, shot me a message that simply read, "What you did was legendary." Respect. The elusive treasure we all seek is like the last slice of pizza at a party. Everyone wants it, but not everyone gets it. It's the kind of thing that makes the world go round, or at least keeps it from spinning off its axis in chaos. A little bit of respect can turn a mundane Tuesday into a day worth writing about, don't you think? I certainly didn't feel like a hero in a grand tale. A wave of tranquility washed over me, like finding the last piece of chocolate in the fridge when you thought you were out. 3 months down the line, I stumbled upon someone new. I had my eyes elsewhere, minding my own business, when suddenly, bam! Life decided to throw a surprise my way. Isn't that just how it begins, every single time? So, let me introduce you to Rachel. Well, let me tell you, she's a whole different kettle of fish compared to Kate. Unassuming power, a wit that sneaks up on you, and a brain that's always a step ahead. The moment she chuckled at one of my silly jokes, without a care in the world about who might be eavesdropping, I just knew it was something special. She wasn't putting on a show. She was simply existing, like a cat napping in a sunbeam, no grand plans, just enjoying the moment. Well, folks, Kate finally put pen to paper and signed the papers. It's about time, right? No note is to be found here. No fuss, no muss. All that was left was a signature and a courier envelope, just sitting there on my doorstep like it was waiting for a dramatic reveal. I held off on opening it at first. I stood there, envelope in hand, grinning like I just won the lottery, though let's be honest, it was probably just a coupon for a free coffee. Not because I'm being petty. Not even a hint of satisfaction. Sweet relief. Like finding an extra fry at the bottom of the bag, unexpected and oh so satisfying. Well, that's that. The curtain has fallen, folks. I occasionally find myself pondering whether she ever hits replay on that video. If it dances in her mind like my toast did in yours. I can't help but think that the most ridiculous thing she ever did to me turned out to be the best thing ever. Talk about a plot twist. If she hadn't lifted that glass, cracked that little joke, and tried to make me feel like a tiny speck in front of the crowd, I might have actually stuck around. I could have given it another go, you know? Well, it seems I may have just added another 5 years to my collection of questionable life choices. The greatest gift she ever gave me was that toast. That night, she dug a hole and tossed our marriage in like it was yesterday's leftovers. At long last, I strolled away unshackled, like a character in a novel who just found the last page of a long-winded saga.